Analytics doesn't just allow you to run research on funds and portfolios, indices and sectors. It allows you to run analysis on the underlying manager, the underlying people managing these funds. Now, one way of getting access to find out who the managers are and how good they are is to access the fund fact sheet. So first of all, select a fund and click on the fund fact sheet icon on the left-hand side. Now, the fund fact sheet will tell you everything you need to know about that fund. Loads of tabs along the top, performance, costs and charges, breakdown, etc. But at the very bottom of the first page, you'll find information on the underlying managers. Now, in this case, there are 3 managers who manage the fund. One of them is an alpha manager rating, more on that in a minute. And each one of those managers has a biography attached to it, but you'll notice as well every single manager has their own fact sheet icon. So if you click on the fact sheet icon, it tells you much more about the manager. And when the fund manager fact sheet loads up, it tells you everything you need to know about that fund manager. So the biography at the top, then it runs into showing you the funds that manager is currently managing against all these sectors and how long he's been managing it for, the funds he's managed previously, a summary of what we think of him here at FE Fund Info. Additional comments will usually indicate they are an alpha manager rated fund manager. Underneath that, performance information. So ultimately, if you crush all of Mike Fox's funds together and look at the time that he's been managing it, that will be the blue line throughout his career, all the way back to 2003. And if you then crush all of those sectors he's been up against again in the same times that he's been managing the relevant funds, that's the red return series. So his career versus his bespoke composite. And then underneath that, more discrete information year on year on how Mike Fox's career has compared against that sector composite, and some illustration underneath on how many years we're dragging that data back and how many periods that manager's overachieved or underachieved. And in this case, there have been 9 yearly periods analysed in total, and there's only been 1 yearly period that manager has underperformed his benchmark, and that happened to be in a rising market. Now, if I come back to the fact sheet again, you'll notice next to Mike Fox's name, there's not just a fact sheet that will load up that manager fact sheet, but there's also a green arrow icon that allows me to place him back into my active list. And if I click on it, it'll disappear. And if I come back to my active list, hey presto, here he is. So if I delete the fund I was looking at a second ago, now ultimately I'm asking analytics to look at his career. So when I do something with this data, the data I want is Mike Fox's career. I can do whatever I like here. So the fund that we were looking at happens to be in the mixed investment 40-25 sector. So for example, I could go and grab the mixed investment 40 to 85% sector, add that in, and again, do something with it. So on the right-hand side, throw that into 5, 10, 15 years, however long Mike Fox's career goes back to. But I can now start generating charts that track, again, the performance of Mike Fox versus the performance of the average fund in that particular sector. Now, there's absolutely nothing stopping me comparing managers versus managers. So on the left-hand side, this little settings tab at the very top here has a couple of additional options over and above what's already shown on the left, and it includes fund managers. Now, if I click on fund managers, I now got a selection box that allows me to select a universe, management group. Let's say I'm interested in analysing a manager with Allianz, and click on the provider, and underneath that will list all of their fund managers. And I can click on one of the managers, click on add, and again, go and create some charts. Particularly useful if I've got maybe a couple of multi-asset funds I'm looking to suggest and recommend to a client. In this case, I'm looking at Mike Fox, but I might want to compare his career versus the manager of another fund that happens to be on my radar, and I want to compare the careers. I don't just want to compare the 2 funds side by side, because ultimately one of those funds, let's say, is quite young and was only born 6 months ago, but maybe the manager managing that fund, their career spans decades. So it allows me to very quickly pivot away from just looking at fund versus fund and actually compare the careers of the managers of those funds. And lastly, in terms of alpha manager, what do we mean by that? It's another one of our ratings. We rate the fund via a Crown rating, we rate the volatility of a fund via the FE risk score, and we rate the actual manager person. Now, we roughly rate around 1,600 managers in the UK. Every January, the Alpha Manager Awards are recalculated, and the top 10% of managers are awarded the Alpha Manager certificate for that year until we run the calculation again the following January. Now, you can find alpha managers relatively quickly on here. Up under the filtering tab, for example, you can go to filters and there's an alpha manager filter. You can even select up here, you only want to look for alpha manager rated funds. So Unit Trust and OEICs, alpha manager rated, and there they all are. If you want more information about the actual calculation, how we derive those top 10% of managers, on the left-hand side, as with all of our ratings, if you go across to training and guides, under the guides section, there's guides to FE Fund Info ratings, and it's that one there. So I hope you found that little tutorial useful. As ever, if you need any help, you've got live chat in the bottom right-hand corner. You've got the help desk under Contact Us on the left-hand side, and you've got a training team where you can schedule some sessions with them, again over on the left-hand side.